Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. So today we'll be looking at the heat map. So what do we have today? What we have is a graphical representation of data where values are depicted by color, and they're mainly used to visualize complex statistical data. So what we just talked about is condemned by the name of a heat map. So to compare with bar graphs, heat maps have colors whereas bar graphs have heights or widths. So basically colors in heat maps are analogous to heights or widths in a bar graph. Now heat maps have been around longer than you think. For example, here's one from the 19th century which shows the population density in some Paris districts. So perhaps the darker the grid gets, the more the population density there is. So this is an easy way to look at the population density in general of the entire city, and we can easily infer from the graph which particular district has more population density. So moving on, let us look at how to read a heat map. So heat maps are two-dimensional in nature. They represent variable versus variable. They have a particular scale, and each grid represents the correlation between the two variables. Now the colors are scaled according to the correlation. For example, the heat map given here has years on the x-axis, whereas months on the y-axis. It looks like a precipitation heat map, where below 200 is very very dry and above 600 is very very wet. So to read this heat map, let us for example fix a month. Let us say January, and let us look at the precipitation from 1949 to 1960. So we can see as the years pass by, the color turns towards the blue shade more, which shows that from 1949 to 1960 the precipitation in the area has increased. Now another way of doing it is fixing an year. For example, let us fix 1960, the rightmost column. So we can see that precipitation increases from the month of January to the month of July where it peaks, and then it starts decreasing again up till December. So what are the various applications of a heat map? So heat map can be used broadly in two main applications, the confusion matrix or the correlation matrix. So let us look at the confusion matrix first. So structurally, a confusion matrix is an n by n matrix, where n is the number of classes which we consider. So for example, for the sake of simplicity, let us say we have two classes, either positive or negative. So there will be four different values in our confusion matrix. True positive, that is TP, false positive, that is FP, false negative, that is FN, and true negative, that is Tn. So true positive is when our model predicts positive and the actual result is also positive. False positive is when our model predicts positive but the result is not true, it is actually negative. False negative is when our model predicts negative but the result is actually positive. And true negative is when our model predicts negative and the result is also negative. So confusion matrix is the best way to evaluate a model's performance. Next is the correlation matrix. So a correlation matrix is similar to a confusion matrix in structure. It is also an n by n matrix. So in this case, we have variables being represented. So as we have seen in scatter plots, we have variables versus variables here as well in a correlation matrix. So for example, the one given here has various variables. So let's look at one particular comparison in one grid. For example, if we have the topmost grid to the right, which is the one which is blue in shade. So the value of that grid ranges are between minus 0.25 and 0.00. So which shows negative correlation. So what we can infer from this is price dog and state are not very well correlated with each other. Any correlation which is close to 1 or minus 1 is good. And as we can see, diagonally, if we proceed diagonally, all values are yellow, which basically means they are highly correlated, not highly correlated, they are basically the same values. Because full square and full square will obviously be related to each other as they are one and the same. So if we plot a graph between full square variable and a full square variable, we'll basically get a line which is y is equals to x. Since they are the same values, which has slope of 1. So basically they're the same values, so hence the correlation is high. So we can also look at other variables this way. For example, if you proceed from 0 to 1, as the color moves towards yellow, the correlation increases. So anything that's between 0.75 and 1 will have a yellowish color. Anything that's between 0.5 and 0.75 will have a greenish tone. So we can in general say that anything which has a yellowish green tone is highly correlated to each other. So those variables can be included in a machine learning model, which will make it more effective and increase its accuracy. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more videos. We'll have the coding video coming up shortly after this, and please like, share and subscribe.